This is Tony from her Homestead Skills. Well, it appears as though Trump is having a really good week this week, and Jack Smith not so good. But you know, it's not over. What do they say? It's not over till the lady sings. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But all in all, things seem to be progressing along nicely, and I would suggest that, yeah, truth always wins out. I don't really care who you think you are. It may it may take a lot longer than what it's taken for Trump, but on the other hand, trying to push through all kinds of lawsuits in a hurry, I guess, well, the truth came out sooner than necessary. And I would suggest that this last ruling on immunity has implications for all presidents, future and past, and they should be thankful that they got the ruling that they did, because yeah, if there was no immunity and if anyone could be prosecuted, nobody would want the job. Unfortunately, too many people seem to want the job, and perhaps for the wrong reasons, but we'll see what happens in the future. I'm going to suggest that the courts seem to be getting a lot of things right these days. It's good to hear. And what they've had quite the last week and this week, quite the slew of things on their plate that they decided to take care of before they, I guess, they're shutting down for a while. Well, I did go to my garden both yesterday and today. Yesterday I did a lot of weeding because the soil was nice and moist, and weeds were loose and they were pretty easy to dig out. And that's the way you want to. Right after a good solid rainstorm is the best time to pull weeds, especially with clay soil. I think if you have sandy soil, it probably doesn't matter when you do it. They just probably come out a whole lot easier anyway. But boy, that clay holds those seeds down real good. And I planted some basil seeds that I grew here. Well, basil plants actually, they were only about this big. But you know, I plant those things individually and they can grow to a good 4 feet tall. So it's good to get them into the ground. And from what I hear, all the gardeners are complaining about the bunnies. So between the weeds and the bunnies, we're having quite the year. I don't know if I mentioned, but I used to have a double plot, and my son decided that he wanted to garden this year, so the plot that was in his name is the one that I told him he should take over, simply because it's his, and if I'm not there next year, well, you know, he can take over both of them or whatever. If he doesn't want to do it next year, I'll take them both over again. But he's mainly planted cucumbers, tomatoes, and peppers, mainly. He's planted a few other things. And I've given him some seeds for watermelon, and they're coming up beautifully. And I planted some basil in a couple of little spots in his area as well. And yeah, his pepper plants are doing really well. But I grew mine from seeds, so they're a little bit smaller than his. And yeah, he's already got little green peppers on his, which is awesome. It's early in the season. I usually don't get peppers till quite a bit later. So yeah, maybe he's doing something right, and it's good to see. For those of you that may or may not know, I know in the US you're going to have your 4th of July weekend is coming up, or I don't know when it's being celebrated, certainly on the 4th, but days ahead and days behind are usually added on. We are celebrating Canada Day today. You know, July the 1st is our celebration, and I don't know if Mark and I are doing anything special, but it is a holiday for us here, so everything's closed as well, except bars and restaurants are usually open on every day except Christmas, obviously. And sometimes even then, depending on the restaurant. So yeah, it's a holiday. It's a beautiful day, and I'm sure that there's fireworks in the parks, and you know, there are special events being held. And I don't think Mark and I have planned anything yet. And he's out fishing right now, so it's all good. You know, I went to my garden, he goes fishing. and meets up with his friends, and that kind of works out for the both of us, so I have no issue there. Then he comes home and makes dinner. Yeah, interesting week. And it looks like Biden's going to carry on. Carry on, sir. More power to him. And yeah, I think people are recognizing that it's either Biden or Kamala. And I personally think that should he want to step down, yeah, Kamala deserves a chance. And I do understand that that is the prerogative of the president to choose his vice president. So if he chose someone to fill in a slot that he felt was needed, and if he chose somebody that nobody would want to see replace him, so that's insurance to keep him in place, oh well, such is life. You either choose somebody because they're the best qualified, or you use different criteria, and that's really up to you. So sadly, it should be always the best qualified for a position. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the position, I don't care what the job, it should be those that are best suited and best qualified. And I know that there are some that say neither one of these two are qualified for the job, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but look who we've got. He certainly, it wasn't because he was qualified, it was name recognition. Everyone recognized the name, even though when his father was prime minister for many, many years, and even though when he left, it was, and everyone was glad that he left, he'd been around too long, we're experiencing the same thing here now. And there are more calls for him to step down as well because of losing a seat in Toronto, St. Paul, Toronto, I believe it was, last Monday, so a week ago today. And that was a Liberal stronghold, and 30 years it was a Liberal stronghold. And because they lost it, there are calls for him to step down, and they're getting louder and more frequent, but he doesn't have to. He can step down today, he can step down 6 months from now, but if he steps down early, it'll be more because he figures he could win, that things are moving in his favor. So I don't see anything changing there, and I don't see him calling an election unless something else pretty drastic happens. But that's our burden to bear, and yeah, I think we each have our own. And look what's going on in France. The so-called extreme right. Yeah, probably it's. If you go to the extreme left, the extreme right is going to look really appealing to a lot of people. But whatever, it's a change. People are looking for a change because things that they've been forced to endure just haven't worked out for them. So, yeah, France is getting pretty ugly because there are demonstrations as well. But that'll sort itself out, and that is far enough away that it doesn't directly affect us, but it affects us. Everything that goes on around the world affects every individual. Don't kid yourself. So, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, and Hamas, all of that affects every one of us. So, Biden and Trump, Trudeau and Poilievre, yeah, all these things, the world is in transition. There's going to be a lot of changes this year. It's already started in a big way, and it's going to continue to snowball until there is a realignment. And it's been coming for a while, and it'll happen. And then perhaps things will either adjust or stabilize maybe for a while, but there's big changes coming in our future. The world is not going to look like what it does today, even 10 years from now. So just going to have to bear with it and do the best we can with what we have, and be strong, be prepared, look after your own, get out of debt, keep enough food in the house that you have a little bit of fallback. Anyway, this is Tony from her Homestead Skills. enjoy the weather. It's absolutely gorgeous here. Hopefully it's gorgeous where you are today too. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Oh, and enjoy your Canada Day and your Independence Day.